hello, yeah, hey guys, this, this is my forecast for the election.
You want some beans?
No.
Okay, that's sad.
And
Wait, what are you talking about on there?
the election?
You are depressing!
Thanks. So this map here is not my forecast. This is the 2016 results. So I'm going to be slowly filling in over the top of these to show the changes, which I think, like, I see people doing this on YouTube all the time, and I'm just like, this would be such a great idea.
Smartness.
Like,
You're doing it to figure out the elections.
thanks. I guess I'll just jump right in because I'm going to go in depth as much as I want into each state. Even the ones which aren't going to be close. Because I have multiple hours to fill and I don't care. So let's start up here and like work our way zigzaggy across the country. So Maine, it's of course one of the two states, along with Nebraska, which splits its electoral votes by congressional district. In 2016, there was the Maine's second district here. It was surprising to me. I'm not sure if it was surprising to the people who were like doing the election then, but they surprise voted for Trump, which makes a little bit of sense, but not really that much because it's also like Maine. But I mean, okay, so there's a lot of farmers back there, but it's surrounded by all of this blue, so I guess that's why it surprised me. But it voted for Trump by like 10.6 points or something, which is a very large number. Or, well, it's a likely margin, but so it's not like safe, but it's likely. So the other ones, well, Maine's first district, it's got all the major cities in Maine in it, so it's going to go Democratic. It's probably going to be safe, or, well, it'll definitely be safe, but probably by like 20 to 25 points. There's not really much to say about that one. Then you've got Maine at large here. Okay, so basically how this works is they give since they've got two congressional districts, and of course the two senators, and that's how they figure out how many electoral votes they have. They split it up with one for each of the congressional districts, and then two for the state's total, like how the rest of the states do it. And Maine has been drifting more Republican recently, but it's just because of Maine's second district, which I think is going to go probably tilt, maybe lean. I'm going to say tilt Democrat, just because the country at large is going more Republican, or I mean more Democrat at this point. I mean the last president to win by a wider margin electoral vote count than the first time he was elected. It was, I think, Bill Clinton in 1996. It might have been George W. Bush in 2004, though. I know his his popular vote margin was definitely more in 2004. But I'm not sure about the Electoral College. So more often than not, you win your first election, and then if you win re-election, you win it by a lower margin than the first time, and that's just because people actually have seen how you do, and it translates into losing a state or two. And then also, specifically for this election, we've also got all the major crises right now, the recession, the coronavirus, which is kind of linked with the recession, and then this year's been so insane I'm actually forgetting everything else. But that might just be me. Anyway, so those two being like that makes Maine at large actually solid Democrat. Last time in 2016 it was lean because this one was so Republican. But now it's gonna be safe, just barely though. It was very close for a while with being likely. And I want to say right now that this is not just based off polls. These are polls plus my actual feelings about these races. And New Hampshire is up next. It is definitely the most Republican of the New England states up here, and the last time it voted Republican was W. Bush in 2000, and it got really, really close to within a couple thousand votes of voting for Trump in 2016. So but it did vote for Hillary Clinton, and with the large shift to the Democrats and the big turnout this year, and what we saw in the 2018 midterms with the blue small W wave, that is going to be, I don't know what I'm doing. It's gonna be likely a Democrat over the lean Democrat it was in 2016. Oh, and my personal scale for the four is if it's under 2% for that candidate, it's tilt. If it's under 7%, it's lean. Lean. If it's under 12%, it's likely, and then if it's above 12%, it's safe. And that's just because there's so many so some people do it with if it's above 15%, it's safe, and then scoot these up according to that. And I don't do that just because there's so many states which fit under 15% that maps look really freaky when you do that. Anyway, next up is Vermont. This is the second or third most Democratic state in the country. I mean, this is one of the only states that Bernie Sanders would be elected as an independent. It's going very safe Democrat, 35 plus points. Massachusetts, same deal. 35 plus points for the Democrats. That's Boston speaking right there. And the there's not really much to say about these up here other than like New Hampshire. Rhode Island, same thing, like 25 points for the Democrats. You know, it's a small state, it's a urban state, it's in New England. I mean, it's got everything going for it. Connecticut, safe Democrat. It's probably 23 to 27 points. It is definitely more rural than Massachusetts or Rhode Island, but it also has the New York suburbs and the what's its capital name? I'm thinking New Haven, but that might be completely wrong. Anyway, that's it. Yeah, New Haven. I didn't look that up. I'm just gonna say that right now. But it's basically what I'm saying is it's got enough urban people in this little strip right here that the rural people over here and over here can't really do much about it. So 25 points to the Democrats. New York is another safe Democrat state because all of this back here doesn't matter when all of this right here does. So that's going to be like 30 points to the Democrats. And also, I mean, they've got the little outer cities along the canal up here with Buffalo and Rochester and Syracuse and of course Albany. And they'll win there easily. They have for the last 30 something years. So New Jersey is up next. That's gonna be another solid Democrat state. So this one's actually kind of interesting because it's the first one that has, like, if you look at a map of it, precinct by precinct, it actually looks Republican because everything here is Republican except for the Philadelphia suburbs and the New York suburbs. So, and also just like New York City parts because it's so freaking massive. But those two things change the entire state to be blue, like solid blue. So that one's probably about 17 to 20 points blue. Pennsylvania is Joe Biden's home state, and it only voted for Trump by like 0.73 margin in 2016. So I think the homegrown appeal that Hillary Clinton didn't have here, Joe Biden does have, and that will push him over the top. But also that combined with the national shift to the Democratic Party for this election and the polls have him up by like 6 points or 5 points depending on who you ask. So I'm going to follow the polls there and say lean. I actually used to have this at likely at around March, but I've actually moved that down since then because it seems to be a lot closer than these two for whatever reason. Which I actually don't have an answer to that, so, you know, that's kind of cool. So, now we're with Trump 285, Biden 253 for this. Next up is Delaware. Joe Biden's other home state, and one of the most Democratic states in the country. That's going to be like 25 points for Biden. And actually, 2 of the 3 counties in Delaware voted for Trump in 2016. I'm pretty sure. One of them flips back and forth, but I'm pretty sure 2 of the 3 voted for Trump in 2016, but he still lost by like 15 to 20 points because man, I cannot remember any of these cities in the little states now. Dover. Yeah, I think that's right. Dover and its proximity to Philadelphia, they combine to make this state very, very Democrat. Next up is Maryland. Again, one of the most Democratic states in the country, probably 30 points to 20 to 30 points for Biden. That's because it has the 2 major cities with Baltimore up here and the DC suburbs and just like parts of DC around here. And that is like way too much for the little farmers out here on this little peninsula, which I forget the name of. Man, I really should prep more for this, but whatever. Next up is gonna be Ohio. This one is very, very close. At the beginning of the year, I had this at lean Republican, just because it's shown that it's going more and more Republican since 2008 even, or yeah, but the elections since then have also been going more and more Republican, just because that was Obama's high. And it is a bellwether state, which makes me wonder, should it go to the person who I think is going to win, or should it go to the person who is the current president? There's my spoiler. And this one's so close that I'm not sure. But I will make my best guess because I like filled-in electoral maps. So I'm going to say that it goes tilt Donald Trump. So just what it is right now. And then we get to West Virginia, one of the most Republican states in the country. It's gonna go for Trump by like 30 points, no matter what. Then we get DC, the most partisan lean in the country. Republicans are so small here that third parties are comparable to them. Like, the Libertarians and the Greens can actually run for second place behind the Republicans. They've never won second place, but they can actually run in a competitive race for second place in DC, because the Republicans just do so bad, because it's so urban, and it's actually the only state/district in the country which has a majority black population. So it's just so Democrat. Like, I'm going to throw out a number here, say a margin of 80 points. which is just stupid. I love it. So then we get to Virginia. I'm just gonna make sure I'm actually recording this. Yes, I am. Okay, so we get to Virginia. This one's another one, or not another one. I don't think I've talked about any which have been going more Democrat. This one's been going significantly more Democrat since maybe even the 1980s. I'm not sure about that, but definitely since 2000. And that would be because of the DC suburbs out here with Arlington and then the major cities down here like Richmond and the place down here where I've been before but I can't remember the name of. Anyway, it's going significantly more Democrat because these Republican bits back here, they are not doing, they're not growing as fast as the Democratic cities. They're losing population back here. Or, well, maybe not losing, but West Virginia, I know, is losing population. And these places are like basically West Virginia, but in Virginia. So that might offend some people from this area out here. I'm sorry. But it's like West Virginia, but in Virginia. And so I kind of wonder if this area is also losing population. But anyway, Arlington, Richmond, this place, that's going to go. I want to say safe Democrat because that's where the polls have it, but I'm just gonna barely edge it into the likely column, just because it's just barely safe on the polls, and I having a solid blue Virginia just feels so weird. I'm not backing that up with any data. I'm just saying it feels weird. So, there's my reasoning. Okay, so now North Carolina. This one is, one of those two states, along with Pennsylvania, which had to get the redistricting again in 2018 because the courts were like, yeah, that's gerrymandering. And that's bad. And now they're actually having like a lot of House of Representatives people resign because they've been, or not resign, but say they're not running for re-election. Does that count as resigning? Like technically, because it's like they're not going to try to get rehired. So anyway. North Carolina, it's having like, I think it was 2 or 3 House of Representatives members say they're not running for re-election because they physically cannot win in the districts that they are in right now. Because they're Democrat districts now. And North Carolina was the state, in presidential politics, it is the state which Hillary Clinton was pushing really hard for North Carolina and Florida and stuff in 2016 and lost miserably because of it. Because she didn't even win these states. And she lost these states because she tried to get these states so hard. But, anyway, North Carolina, it's been shifting more and more demographically to the Democrats because the black vote is growing, the cities are growing. You've got places like Charlotte or Greensboro or Raleigh, and Asheville to a lesser degree from the mountains. And you've got these big cities getting bigger, and you've got the black population getting bigger, and it's slowly getting more and more Democrat. And the 2018 House of Representatives vote, overall, in that state was close to 50-50, if I remember correctly. It might have been like 46-54, but I'm pretty sure it was like 48-50 or something. And that is very good for Democrats here, but does that mean they can get over the Republican lean here since back in, well, Obama won it in 2008, and I can't actually remember when the last Republican or the last Democrat won that state. It might have been all the way back in 1964 with LBJ's landslide. But because of Joe Biden's support with the black population, seen in the primaries, and because, and that's probably because of his relations with Obama, and because of those demographic shifts, I think it will go tilt Democrat. Just barely eking out a victory there. Now, South Carolina is another one of those states with a changing demographic, but it is also very Republican. So, it's usually likely or safe. So, I'm going to put it at likely, because with the black belt, I'm not sure if that's like the actual name for it, but it's like the area that stretches around here with a significant number of African American people in it. That is growing, and the Columbia and Charleston are growing and getting more Democratic. And the only thing really holding Democrats back from winning this state is the backcountry because the most Republican county in the state in 2016 was Pickens County up here in the very corner here with the mountain people, and that went for Trump by 70 points, the margin of 70 points. So this area back here is so Republican, and then it's just not. There's just slightly too many people back here for the Democrats in the cities and the black belt here. I love saying that. It might be pretty racist though, actually, as a term, but I don't really care because I like saying it. So, these it's just too many people back here and not enough people up here maybe in like 20 years it'll be a tilt Democrat state or something. Oh, and now look at those. After I flipped North Carolina, now it's 270 for Donald Trump, 268 for Joe Biden. Can Joe Biden win in some of these other swing states? Because okay, so Donald Trump. What we've got left is the very Democratic areas over here, and then Illinois, which is also very Democrat. So for Donald Trump to win now, he has to pick up Colorado or Minnesota or Nevada or possibly New Mexico. But can he? That's the question. Spoiler alert, he can't. So Georgia, it's one of those 4 really, really close ones. This one's been going more Democratic, not just in the last 30 years, but in the last 30 months even. 30 weeks. It started out with like I think it was likely Republican on my predictions in March. And now it's going to, a lot of the polls have it at tilt Democrat, which is insane because it's Georgia. But polls aren't generally that incredibly far off. So, and polls usually underestimate Democrats in these in the Sun Belt down here because they're like me. They're like, Georgia isn't going blue. But those two factors combined make me want to put it as Democrat. But I'm going to fall back on my instincts here and say it's going to be tilt Republican. Florida is, of course, the great bellwether of the last 30-ish years. Not 30, but close to that, like 28 or 26 or whatever. It is more favorable to Democrats than Ohio is. And it's got the changing demographic with the Hispanics, although those are Cubans and they do generally vote Republican. But they've also got a growing black population, and the other thing which makes it stay roughly in the middle is the growing elderly population, because you've got all the snowbirds moving down to Florida. So since it is a bellwether state, and it's obvious that I think Biden is going to win by this point, I am going to put it lean Biden. And that just feels insane to me right now, because back in March, I had it as lean Trump. I did not think it was gonna switch over, but I was probably wrong. It's because this race has done the opposite of tightening. It's gone so far apart at this point that I don't remember the last time I've seen Trump with more than like a 20% chance of winning. Like, not even in places like 538 or The Economist, which usually have which in 2016 at least had him with like a 30-ish% chance of winning. But it's just gone so far to the Democrats at this point that it has turned from a possible red, just barely victory, like just barely, to another blue wave, 2 consecutive blue waves. Anyway, Tennessee, it's going Republican. Deep Republican. We're finally getting to those places. It is probably going to be about 16 points for Trump. It is... I mean, it's an incredibly red state. It's got the mountain people over here, like I was talking about around here. And, the Appalachian culture. They do have the Democratic cities of Memphis and Nashville, though, which sort of even it out, but not enough to beat out all of this area. And next up, you've got Kentucky, another very Republican state, probably about 18 to 20 points for Trump. I mean, it's so Republican. I think it had the most Republican county for Trump in 2016. Did I just say most Republican county for Trump? The one which voted most for Trump in 2016, and it was like around here somewhere. Can't remember which county that was. But it's very Republican. It will be for a while. It does have Louisville over here, though, sort of making it not like a plus 30 Republican state. Indiana, this is Mike Pence's home state. It's pretty Republican. Last time a Democrat won, it was Obama in 2008. So I'm gonna put it at likely, just because the 2 major population centers, they sort of even it out a little bit. Indianapolis and place up here. Well, it's the Gary, South Bend area up here. Next up is Michigan. It is one of those 3 states which everybody has been talking about for the last 4 freaking years. And it's the most Democratic of those states. It's got it went to Trump by 0.27 points, I think. And if Pennsylvania is the most Republican of these 3 states in 2020, that means, of course, Michigan will be likely, which is insane to think about. That was like a tilt Republican state last time, and now it is a likely Democratic state. That shows you how far the country has shifted in the last 30 weeks. Because, I mean, I did have Joe Biden winning this at the beginning in March, but only barely. Like, I had it at tilt, and now I have it at likely. Now, I think I'll come back down here. Alabama, very Republican, solid. It's probably 22 points for Trump. It's an easy win for him. Mississippi, same deal, but a lot closer because the the Black Belt I was talking about. In Alabama, it's just like this little tiny area down here, plus Birmingham. But in Mississippi, it's kind of just like the entire area around the Mississippi River, plus like this area back here. So they are actually going to be closer to like 14 points for Trump. Now, back up here, Wisconsin, it's going to be going Democrat because it's closer, it's farther apart than Pennsylvania, so it's just not quite likely. So it's going to go lean Democrat. Illinois, the very Democratic state that's safe. I mean, 20 points for Biden. Now, across the Mississippi, past the original American borders, you've got Louisiana, safe Republican. I mean, same deal as like Alabama. The Black Belt ends at the Mississippi. But it does have like it does have the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area to even it out. So probably about 18 points for Trump. Arkansas, very Republican. I mean, once again, the Black Belt ends at the Mississippi. Like Arkansas, it barely even has Democratic areas. Like, this is very, very Republican. I'm gonna say 23 points for Trump. Missouri is definitely not as Republican as Arkansas because it's got the St. Louis and then Kansas City areas to even it out. But that doesn't make it anywhere close. It's still likely Republican. I mean, it's also got a large enough black population to pull down those numbers for Trump. So probably about 10 to 11 points for Trump there. Iowa. So Iowa, in the polls, it was looking like the Democrat, Joe Biden, was going to win there for the last week or so, but literally today, it switched, and yesterday it was tied, 0 points, but now today it looks like it's going to be slightly Republican, which is where I was going to put it at anyway, because it's Iowa. I mean, it's tilt Republican. I've had no doubts about that since the beginning. Or, well, I have, but only when the polls were like, yikes. But now that it's switched back, I'm going to claim that I had no doubts about that since the beginning. Minnesota, it's not safe, it's likely for Democrats, just because it's less close than Michigan. So, because it's got the areas with the Twin Cities, St. Paul, and Minneapolis, and then basically the rest of the state is Republican. But these areas right here are enough to pull it over for yet another Democratic election there. That's like, it's been holding that streak since 1980, I think. Or maybe before then. No, I think they voted for Jimmy Carter both times. So that would be 1972 then, was the last time they voted Republican. Anyway, moving on to the Great Plains areas, North Dakota, South Dakota, both going Republican, and for the same reasons. They're the mining, they're the oil states up there, the pipeline from 2017 is a good example of that. That was in North Dakota, I think. They're so similar that they could basically be one state. They just didn't want them to because Republicans wanted more senators back in 1890. Yeah, there's not really much to talk about them. Large Native American populations up there, but they don't always vote Democrat, as you'll see in a second. Nebraska, large, and Nebraska third, also going Republican. Safe. I mean, oh, and these are going to be about 20 points each. South Dakota less, though, like 18. Nebraska second and is going to go about 16 points for Republicans, and that's because Nebraska third is the single most Republican area in the entire country. It is going to go Republican 35 plus points.
You got the whole squad laughing.
Nebraska 1, though, while still being Republican, will only be likely because Joe Biden, over the last couple of, for maybe about a month-ish, this was a very Republican state district, but now, over the last couple of months, he's been making huge gains in Nebraska for whatever reason. And just like his president he served under, Nebraska second is going to go Democrat. Obama, of course, was the last time it went Democrat, and the only time it went Democrat, without the entire state going Democrat, like in the 1908 or whatever. Now, you've got, of course, that's gonna be lean, because I can't let myself put it higher than lean, because I mean, it's just like Nebraska second is. I don't want it to go Republican because I really do think the 2008 one was a fluke, and since then, since the redistricting, they made it even harder for a Democrat to win there. But the country's going so much more Democrat right now, and the cities are getting so much more Democrat, and this is, of course, a city, because this is, I can't remember if it's Omaha or Lincoln. I know they're right next to each other, but I'm pretty sure Lincoln is in Nebraska first, and Omaha is in Nebraska second. I might be getting that wrong, but that's another reason Nebraska first is only likely, because it's Lincoln, Nebraska, right around here. But it's also got all these farmers out here, so you know. Kansas is going to be Republican. It's going to be likely probably about 10 points, maybe 11. And that's just because it's like farmers. I mean, the reason it's only likely, though, is because it's got the Kansas City, Kansas bits over here, and then Topeka, and is also Democrat. Next up is Oklahoma, another one of those very, very ruby red states. You've got in that state, that's probably about 25 points for the Republicans, maybe 30. This is that one I was talking about where I was like, yeah, Native Americans don't always vote Democrat, because in Oklahoma, they very, very much do not. But, I mean, this is the state, one of two states, the other being West Virginia, where Donald Trump won every county in 2016. Some of them by slim margins, but he won every county. I mean, it's not going Democrat anytime soon. Texas is terrifying because it's a swing state at this point. Or not a swing state, because it hasn't gone Democrat in years, but it's a close state. And it's got 38 votes. I'll be right back. Yeah, so Texas. Sorry about that phone call, Anyway, Texas is really close. I had it as lean for a little while.
Patrick, take your phone back.
Okay. I had it at lean, Republican. I actually had it at likely at the beginning of the year, but the polls have it at like 1.4 or whatever for the Republicans, and you can't just ignore the polls. That being said, it's also Texas. It's Texas. They haven't voted Democrat since Jimmy Carter 1976. It's not voting Democrat, but it's going to vote Republican. That was a really stupid statement. It's not voting Democrat, but it's going to vote Republican by a tilt margin because of those huge demographic changes with the Hispanics in the southern areas down here, down near El Paso and Corpus Christi and stuff. And then you've got the big cities getting bigger, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. And then, of course, it's just barely Republican because it's got all these areas around here which are Republican by very solid margins. Now we get to the West Coast. This is out here. It's either very Republican or very Democrat. There's very few states in between. So, Wyoming is a farming state. It's a bison herding state, I mean, I'm sorry for that stereotype, but, like, they've only got, like, 200,000 people, or 700,000 people. They're going very, very Republican. Like, it's second place behind Nebraska, third. It's like 35 points Republican, plus. Montana is one of those few states which is in between. It's likely Republican because it has a very strong Republican presidential history, but a very strong Democratic Senate history, and also governors. They've only voted for 3 Republican senators ever, and only one of them won re-election, and the other one is up this year. And it's a very close state. The West over here is very Democrat with the miners and the big cities like Missoula, or the other one that I'm not remembering. Damn, I really need to get with my cities. Dang. But anyway, this bit out here is so Republican with the farmers, though, that it's going Republican by 9 points. It's actually interesting because this week the polls actually got, for the first time, closer in Montana than in South Carolina. So, there's your fun fact. Next up is Idaho. Miners, farmers, whatever, the Mormons, everything going for Republicans here. It's very Republican, like 25 points for Trump. Colorado. This is like Virginia and Maine's at large. Um, it it has been shifting between likely and safe Democrat because it's got the huge demographic changes going more Hispanic, more urban, and that's why it's changed from a Republican state in 2000 ish, 2004 even, to a Democratic state in 2008 even, like, and it hasn't voted Republican since 2004. So, I'm going to put it at safe. Just ever so barely. Just the demographic changes. That's what's going on. That's how you tell the election. That's how it works. Because there are people always screaming about, like, oh, they're horrible. It's identity politics, and then I'm like, yeah, but your identity is what you vote by. I mean, a minor isn't going to vote directly against somebody who's for somebody who's directly against mining. I mean, it's simple fact, I think. So, yeah, anyway, New Mexico is basically Colorado, but more Hispanic, and, safe. By that, Colorado's gonna be like 12 points, and New Mexico's gonna be like 14. Utah, it was the most Republican state in the 2012 election, but that's because the whole Mormon thing with Mitt Romney, and then with Trump, it actually fell to be like about 15 points, I think, in 2016. So I'm going to keep that rating, 15 points for the Republicans. If you went directly off of shift compared to the national shift between those states, actually, it would be voting like likely Democrat at this point. But that's stupid. So, Arizona's up next. It is another one of those ones with the huge demographic shifts, just like all of these on the Mexican border, for whatever reason. And, of course, they're getting huge numbers of Hispanics, and then you've got Phoenix and Tucson getting bigger here, and then basically the Republicans are slowly getting swept out of the state, and that's been since the 90s, I think, thing. So it's going to go lean Democrat. It would go tilt, but tilt is only like 0 to 2%, so there's a limited number of states which can fit into that range. Just like, I've already got 4 for Republicans and 2 for Democrats, so so, it's just going to get like literally 2, maybe like 2.5 points. I'm going to say 2.5. Nevada over here, it's safer than Arizona, but still in the lean column, because the lean column's so big, like 2 to 7 or whatever. That's going to be closer to the 7, like, I'm going to say 6.5. And, I had this at, actually, tilt Democrat in March, so it's just been, the entire country's just been going more and more blue for the last 30 weeks. I'm not sure if 30 weeks ago was March, but I'm going to say that because I I started with that. And now, next up is California, Oregon, Washington. They're all going safe Democrat. I mean, California, huge cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento. These cities, and the fact that the white population is actually a plurality, or maybe not even a plurality. I think the Hispanic population is actually beating out the white population now. Anyway, California is so Democrat on every level. Next up is Oregon. It's got Portland. It's got the coast effect, where basically if you're on the coast, you're a Democrat. And then the inland, of course, there is Republican, but they can't really do anything about the state. But for a while there, the Republicans were like, maybe we can flip Oregon, but that's a little bit stupid, so let's not talk about that. Next up is Washington. You've got Olympia, Seattle. It's the same thing with the other two. The huge cities beating out the farmers. I mean, now the last two states, Alaska and Hawaii. I'll do Alaska first. It is going to be Republican, as literally always. Is going to be likely, though, because Alaska has a long history of voting Republican, like all but 2 elections ever. And presidential, and but the thing about that is, in those elections, it's not usually solid. I mean, it is usually solid, but it's by like a small solid margin. It's so just like, the thing is, the natives up there, the natives, that's the Native Americans, the people up there, they're Democratic, which is actually really interesting, because on a map, if you do the counties, or they don't have counties, but they have like I don't even remember what they call theirs. You see that all the rural, or well, not rural, but the places which aren't in the cities, they are Democrat, and the cities are Republican, because you've got all the oil people up there, you've got all the miners and stuff, and they vote Republican, and they live in the cities, and the Native Americans up there don't live in the cities, and they are Democrats. So it's actually really interesting, and they like, and this makes a really polarized environment up there, where it's like half of the people are Democrat and half of the people are Republican, but they're slightly more Republicans. So the Republicans always win. Anyway, and like Lisa Murkowski has won like re-election like 3 times in the Senate, and she hasn't gotten 50% of the vote any time, because the other thing about Alaska is they have a lot of people who vote for third parties, because they know they're going to vote Republican. So, like, Republicans are voting third party there, which is so interesting. And that's probably another reason why it's so close. And then, fun fact, not related to this election, but in 1960, they actually, when they got the Alaska and Hawaii to be states, like admitted to the Union, they did it because they did both of them at the same time because they thought Alaska was going to be Democrat and Hawaii was going to be Republican. So, that's kind of great. They were very wrong. Anyway, Hawaii going solid Democrat, like second or third most Democratic state in the country, and the final state on this prediction. I mean, okay, so the reason they're going Democrat is they've got the huge Asian population, the Native American, as in Native Pacific Islander or whatever they call them. They're the people who lived here before us, so they're I'm gonna call them natives, and they are they're huge there. Like I think they have like I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's going to be 35-ish points for the Democrats. And that is the end of my presidential prediction. But now, since I'm going all in on this, I'm not going to do the House because that would be fucking nuts. But I will do the Senate in a lot lower detail. Alright, here we go. I'm gonna fill these in with the 2016, or not 2016, but like who the current senator in it is. I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this out or not. I could totally do that though, because this is like already an hour long. Alright, here we go. So, right now, there are 23 senators up for the Republican Party and 12 up for the Democratic Party, because, of course, the Senate, it's a third of the people get voted for every 2 years, and these, I can't remember if this is, I think this is class 2. But basically, we've got 33 people up and then 2 special elections in Georgia and Arizona because the people retired or died. Sorry, John McCain. Anyway, now I'll be going through these in the same order. We'll start with, I'll start with Maine. This is Susan Collins. She has won by, like, 30, or not 30, but, like, 20 points in every election she's had in that state, except for, I think, 1. I'm not sure about that, though. I'm less versed in these. But now she's in serious trouble. Not only from the Democrats, because they voted for her, and then she voted for Brett Kavanaugh. For him to get into the Supreme Court. But also by the Republicans, because she didn't vote for Amy Coney Barrett the other day. So she's having some trouble there. But it has been closing up recently. Like, she's been doing good closing the gap. The fact that she didn't vote for Amy Coney Barrett is probably helping her significantly, especially among Democrats. But still, Sarah Gideon is probably going to beat her by a lean margin. I'm not going to do exact point counts for these, because I don't care that much. But this is the Senate this year is probably even more important than the presidency, because we know Joe Biden's going to win according to my forecast just now. But can he get anything done? I personally don't believe that he will, even if the Senate flips. But I'm optimistic. So, anyway, whatever. But if the Senate doesn't flip, he absolutely will not. Because Mitch McConnell's strategy as Senate Majority Leader is do everything the Republican president wants and do nothing the Democratic president wants. So, if he stays the Majority Leader, we have 4 years of nothing. Or 2 years, and because it's possible that it'll flip in 2022. But that's beside the point. I mean, it probably, if it doesn't flip this year, it definitely won't in 2022, because that's a midterm against an incumbent Democrat president, and those always go bad for the incumbent party. So then New Hampshire up here, Jeanne Shaheen is fine. I mean, is it safe or likely is the thing. I'm going to say likely, just because I'm a little bit more conservative with my estimates than some people. In Massachusetts, Ed Markey is going to do fine there. Like, it's Massachusetts. They do have a thing where they vote for Republican governors, but not Republican senators. So, you know, they're good. Rhode Island, same thing. I'm not sure about the Republican governors in Rhode Island, though. It doesn't really matter. New Jersey, it's Cory Booker. I mean, running off the coattails of his presidential run, he'll win. I mean, by a safe margin. He would have won by a safe margin anyway, though. But I do think he did succeed in his presidential run without, actually winning. Because, he did bring his name more into the spotlight. So, anyway. Not as much as a certain mayor from Indiana, though. Delaware, I mean, as I said earlier, very Democratic state. Is Coons the one who's up? I think so. Chris Coons is going to be fine. West Virginia, very Republican state, not always on the Senate level, but this year they're going Republican. By a safe margin. Next up is Virginia. I don't even remember which one is the one running in Virginia right now. It doesn't really matter, though, because they're safe anyway. I mean, it's whatever. It's Virginia. As I said, demographic shifts, and, I don't remember this exactly, but I think they have a thing for voting for Democratic senators anyway. I mean, I know they've got 2 of them in right now, but it's not even going to be close. So, North Carolina, this one's another one of those really close ones that the Democrats are targeting really hard to flip. Cal Cunningham had some sort of scandal like 2 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it has tightened the race a little bit. So now, instead of a lean margin, I'm going to put it at a tilt margin, which now puts it at 51 to 49. Yikes. Okay, South Carolina, Lindsey Graham is having a very, very tough time against Jamie Harrison. But it's also South Carolina, so it's going to be lean. Barely lean. It's really close to tilt, but I'm going to put it at lean. Georgia. Okay, so Georgia's normal election, which is Purdue versus Ossoff. It's nothing really special. I mean, it's close, but it's not like anything special there. So, I'm just gonna put it like tilt Republican, just basically because of the demographic trends. It doesn't really have much going for it there. So Ossoff is probably going to lose, but only barely. But the Georgia special election is one of the greatest stories of this entire election, this entire season of election, because a couple months ago, it was looking like this was going to be likely Republican, maybe lean, if the Democrat was lucky, because you had a Republican state, you had the fact, okay, so Georgia does special elections, or well, just elections, with a thing called a jungle primary, where they have the primary on election day, and if somebody gets more than 50% of the vote, they win. But if nobody does, then they get a contingent election where the top two go at it, and whoever wins, and that'll be probably in, I can't remember if it's December or January. It would have to be December, though, because the people go in on January 3rd. Anyway, so there were like 3 or 4 Democrats running and 2 Republicans, and it looked like, since the Democrats were so split, it looked like it was going to be a Republican on Republican contingent election. But then, out of nowhere, the Democrats started dropping out, and Barack Obama endorsed Raphael Warnock. So then, in literally a week, it went boom, 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 there, to lean Democrat. It went from likely Republican to lean Democrat in a week. And that's just insane. Like, what a way to lose the Senate majority. What a way. Anyway, next up is Tennessee, very Republican. Kentucky, the Democrats are having wet dreams about taking out Mitch McConnell from his seat with her name. I can't remember her name. That sucks. McGrath. Katie McGrath. Yeah, there we go. Or Amy McGrath. Amy or Katie? Shit. Anyway, McGrath. They think it's gonna be, likely. It's not. It's gonna be safe. Mitch McConnell's not getting voted out. He won't be leaving office until he dies. So, you know. Or decides to leave, but he will never decide to leave because he's Mitch McConnell. So he's going to die in office. Anyway, you move on to Michigan. That's gonna be likely. Some people are putting in lean. The polls say lean, but I think it's gonna be likely. Just it's Michigan. I mean, you know. Next up is Alabama. This is the only one which I think the Republicans are actually going to flip, taking back the Senate majority, 51 to 49. But it's going to be likely, just because, I mean, Doug Jones is in there right now as a Democrat, and he only won in that special election. Or was it a special election? I think it was, in like 2018. And he only won there. Or no, it wasn't. That was a normal election. Or no, it was a 2017 special election. Yeah, okay. Anyway, he's served half a term, and he only got voted in because the guy running against him was literally a it was something about it was some sort of sex crime. I can't remember if it was like pedophile or it was something like that. But they only voted him out though by they only didn't vote him in. They only voted Doug Jones in by like 2 or 3 points though. So it was still close, and he was running against a child molester or something. I can't remember exactly what. So, you know, Alabama, just because he's the incumbent, he's going to get out of safe to likely, but it's Alabama. And then Mississippi, likely again, it's Mississippi. He is doing the person running against the Democrat running right now is doing slightly better than Joe Biden, but, you know, not that much. Illinois here, safe Democrat. I mean, it's Illinois. There's nothing I can really say about that. Chicago. Louisiana is going safe Republican. They've got a jungle primary there too, but the Democrats haven't consolidated behind anyone. Arkansas is so Republican there isn't even a Democrat running. Oklahoma, I mean, it's no challenge there for the Republican. Or I mean, there is technically a challenge, like a person actually running against him, but or her. No, I think that's a him. Anyway, I think it's a him. Anyway, Minnesota, it's gonna be. I can't remember if this is safe or likely, so I'm gonna play it safe and go likely. So, you know, likely Democrat. It's Minnesota. There's not really much to say there. Iowa, this is Teresa Greenfield versus Joni Ernst. And Joni Ernst completely flopped with the Amy Coney Barrett thing. And she was doing okay. She was doing like bad but still winning. But now she's doing bad and losing, so there's a tilt Democrat there. Kansas, it really depended on the primary, and the Republicans chose wisely. It was lean Republican, but now I'm going to say likely. So now it really just depends on the president who gets voted in. But assuming it's going to be Joe Biden, this is going to be a Democratic win in the Senate. Anyway, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming. I mean, safe for the same reason. These guys are all farmers. I mean, there's nothing to really say about that. Texas is gonna be lean lean Republican. It was likely, like, literally yesterday, but I'm rethinking it now, and I'm going to put it at lean just because of the Biden coattails. I mean, but Cornyn isn't going to be voted out of office anytime soon. Or maybe sometime soon. Maybe in 2026, but probably not. Anyway, Montana, you've got Steve Daines versus Steve Bullock, so there's a 100% chance a Steve will win, but it's going to probably be Steve Daines. Now I'm going to put a tilt. Because Steve Daines is one of those 3 Republicans who have ever won in the Senate in Montana, and I think he's gonna be the second one to get reelected, so that's something. But Steve Bullock is running a very, since he's running, it's tilt. Just because it's him. I mean, popular former governor. I mean, presidential candidate. It's very close, but Steve Daines is gonna win. I think everyone knows that. I mean, I've stopped getting Steve Daines ads recently on YouTube, so that's not really a data point. That's just like me saying the Republicans feel more safe about this now, which might actually leave Steve Daines in a troublesome position, but probably not. So next up is Idaho. Same reasons as with Trump winning there. I mean, farmers, miners, whatever the hell you want. It's Idaho. Next up is Oregon. I mean, safe Democrat again. It's Oregon. The Republicans aren't going to win there. Now, I'm going to do New Mexico. It's safe Democrat. Once again, I mean, the demographic shifts. It's good now. Alaska is going to be lean Republican. Like, there's no chance that actually it's like I think it's a coalition candidate between Democrats and like everybody else in Alaska. But I don't think the Young Young is the representative. Dan Sullivan is going to lose there, because I mean, it's Alaska. As I said earlier while talking about the presidency, it always votes close, but the Democrat never wins. So, and that as far as I know, bleeds over into the Senate as well. Now, Colorado and Arizona. And Colorado, just because of demographic shifts, it's gonna go lean Democrat and give them the absolute majority in the Senate. But that's like, it's the the coattails and the demographic trends, and the fact that this is a blue wave, insane. After another blue wave last year, like, not in the Senate though, because I think Republicans actually gained in the Senate in 2018, which is insane. But the Senate is largely ignorant of waves, except for, yeah, I mean, even in 2010, because the Democrats still had the House after that, or the Senate. But, like, the House goes full in on waves in wave years, but the Senate kind of ignores them because they're statewide races, and they, it's like, they're statewide races, and there's not really, since only a third of them are up, it gives whoever's down less opportunities to win in a wave year. So, anyway, Arizona's the other one. Mark Kelly, astronaut twin dude, he's gonna win there over Martha McSally, because, I mean, this one's so sad. Like, what was the governor really thinking here? Like, John McCain dies, and you have to put up a person who you have to appoint a new senator. So you choose the person who just lost the race in the state for the Senate. Like, that's just stupid. There's no other thing to say about that. Like, I don't understand. Does anyone understand what the reasoning was there? It's mind-boggling. Anyway, that's literally, like, or not a literal one, but, like, a figurative middle finger to the entire voting body of Arizona. Like, I don't, like, if you put up another candidate, they would have a chance of winning in 2020, in the 2020 special election. But it's like the governor wanted the Republicans to lose the Senate in 2020. Like, what the heck? Anyway, that combined with demographic trends in Arizona, with the Hispanic population growing, and Phoenix and Tucson growing, that's going to make it likely Democrat here. So there's my my two predictions for the presidency and the Senate, both going for Democrats. And this 2-hour-long video, it's only been an hour and a half. That's not too bad. Can you not see my mouse? Oh shit. I hope the mouse is on here. I don't think it is. Anyway, that fucking sucks. But anyway, let's just the video's over. Go home.